It was between life and death.
This is where the intergenerational learning comes
Oh,
in.
totally, yeah. Teach them some real skills and mindset. When you're in the real world, you're on your own. It's really about the struggle and suffering. But the book actually talks about this profound idea about check.
Check.
Shall we start?
Oh, maybe. Okay, should we clap?
3, 2, 1, start.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our new series, Founders in L.I.T.E. Today, we'll be kicking off our segment with our very own Helen Wang, founder and CEO of Oceanside Perspective. Helen's remarkable career has spanned from Apple's first iPhone to Google's self-driving car, where she built and led global supply chain ecosystems for some of the most innovative products in the world. Thank you, Helen, for joining us today.
Thank you, Katie. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And then I am the host, Katie Cho. I was Helen's student last year at UC San Diego. Now, Professor Wang, you're in my classroom today, so I have a game for you.
Okay.
It's called Wave to Wave.
I follow the rule.
It's called Wave to Wave. So here we have a deck of cards. Each one has a question on it, and none of us know what the question will be. So I'll start off by choosing a card that we both have to answer. And then after that, you will pick a card and keep it hidden, and that'll be our first question for our next guest on the series.
Okay, let's do it.
So just a random card from the middle. What makes a person a good traveling companion?
Oh, do you like travel?
I do. I haven't been to many places yet, but I do like to travel.
I think a few things. This is a great question. Again, we don't know what's the question, so very unexpected, surprising way. But I think a good travel companion, compromise is the first thing coming to my mind, because everybody has different habit. You eat different food, you have different schedules. So if you decided to travel together, I think that's a test. Test is like, do you trust each other? Do you are you willing to compromise? And then I think that's kind of my tips for like good companion. Mm-hmm. What about you?
I agree. I feel like my answer kind of goes right hand in hand with that. Like, I think less one particular trait for one person that can be generalized, but more if you're traveling with one other person, if you guys have complementary personalities, I think that's a big plus. Like, if someone's really type A, then you should go with someone that's really type B, so there's no clashing. So that's my headspace on that.
Yeah. Also, just have fun.
Yes.
Because that's the purpose of traveling, to experience and explore curiosity.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Love the question.
All right, now you choose one.
Okay. I
Keep
choose
it a
one for
secret,
whoever
though.
the next guest.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, it's a long question. Okay, I will let you read it later because I did not wear my reading glass. But I think it's a good question.
Okay, sounds good. That'll be for next time. So, Helen, I'm curious to know, what does Oceanside Perspective mean to you? What was your vision for this company?
Yeah, Oceanside Perspective is a nonprofit educational content creator, helping students and professionals build human skills through intergenerational learning. You could think of it as a masterclass for human skills, where all the generations learn from each other.
I love that. And so I know that Oceanside Perspective is also built on the L.I.T.E framework. Can you go a little bit more into that?
Yeah, we thought very carefully and thought for a long time in terms of the area we want to focus on, because human skill can be many different skills. So the L.I.T.E Beyond Generations become our slogan. And the L.I.T.E stands for Leadership, Innovation, Technology, and Entrepreneurship, which are all kind of like complex problem to solve and opportunity for human beings to get better. And so the reason that I picked this, because I think the best way to learn is intergenerational learning, the younger generation learning from older generation and vice versa, in order to make this L.I.T.E works as sort of a pound for light in the tunnel. And I think we all gone through some very difficult time and the struggles we have. And then so knowing that there's another generation has currently going through that, and there's also other generation has gone through that successfully, give us hope.
And is there one out of the 4 pillars, leadership, innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship, is there one that really stands out to you in your personal journey, one that resonates with you the most?
Yeah, I think all 4 are very important because, coming from coming from like tech giant like Apple and Google, I have seen the best talent around the world. Who could advance technology, who could advance innovation. But I think one thing really stood out for me was the leadership, because leadership really bring people together. We need more than 1 people to make impact happen and also sustainable growth. So I think, if I have to pick one, I started with leadership.
Gotcha. So you mentioned you started your career out working for tech giants like Google and Apple, and now you're in the point of your career where you have founded Oceanside Perspective, and this is one of your main focuses. So was there a defining moment where you had to choose principle over speed?
Yeah, speed is always important because I teach entrepreneurship, and I know that, speed to the market, speed to evolve, and speed to delivery are so critical. But there are times that you have to choose principle over speed. A recent example is we launched our new website for oceansideperspective.org in September. And that was a project supposed to be delivered much earlier. But I chose to give an opportunity to the young people who are eager to learn and gain experience from building a website, which is a skill set, and then versus to hire professionals for speed. As a result, the launch is pushed out more than 6 months, but I feel like that's a good trade-off.
I agree. And then is there another part of the L.I.T.E framework that really sticks out to you?
I think since we're in Founder in L.I.T.E series, I would pick probably entrepreneurship.
Gotcha. So in your entrepreneurial journey, having to transition out of working for big corporations, how was your experience having to be scrappier?
No, my gosh, I love the word scrappier, but until it was really in this nonprofit startup, and I have to decide what to do, right? So just to put a context out there is, when you work for a company like Apple and Google, you almost have unlimited budget to hire the best talent, right? But in translating to like a nonprofit startup we rely on volunteers. And also, a for-profit company that you have revenue keep coming to sustain your growth, your investment in your future. But as a nonprofit, that means donations, right? And then finally, I think I also learned in the hard time that choose progression over perfection. We hold a very high standard, as you can imagine in the companies, the tech giants. But here we are aiming for not profit, for impact. So progress, keep moving forward means so much more. That's the way we can make impact.
Gotcha.
So we cannot be scrappier than. I think it's just a test. It's a test for people like us, coming from like large corporation to start your own venture. I mean, that's part of the entrepreneurship in action.
Right. And then when you are obviously focusing on progression over perfection, there's bound to be some challenges that come with that. So was there a day that you almost quit? And can you tell me about that?
Yeah. This is actually an emotional story. And it was about 6 months after I founded Oceanside Perspective. The first 6 months went really well because we gained a lot of momentum. We actually raised a $10,000 fund from Kickstarters, and thanks to all of the supporters who actually believed in us. So it was about to thinking about what's next, the big thing that we could work on, and I was diagnosed with very aggressive cancer, and I have to pause. It was between life and death, so I have to pause everything, including Oceanside Perspective, and start treatment. A year-long treatment consists of surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation. And you would ask me throughout that year, every day I'm thinking about maybe it's time for me to quit Oceanside Perspective or shut down Oceanside Perspective. So what really changed was during that very difficult time, my daughter Irene, as well as Elliot, one of my former students from the Innovation to Market class, also his first-year roommate, Nikhil, 3 of them stepped up, and then they decided to lead Oceanside Perspective and hold it together until come from the other end. So here I am. I finally finished all the treatment and cancer-free, and when I'm on the other end, because of their unconditional love, because of I see how younger generation would step up to lead, and how they lead an organization when they don't even have that much experience. So that's the day that I decided I'm going to keep doing Oceanside Perspective, and this might just be my lifetime mission.
That's really beautiful. I'm glad that you had their support. And so it seems like that cross-generational mentorship, that's a big pillar to Oceanside Perspective, correct?
Yeah, totally. I think for many reasons. One is because, when I worked at Apple and Google, the company is huge and it's global, right? And the first thing that you will realize is that's different from school is it is actually multi-generational. You would have worked with people who just graduated from school and the people has been there for 20, 30 years. So, how do you actually thrive in that kind of environment where school is more of peer-to-peer? And then secondly is also, I firmly believe, especially from my own experience, that I could learn so much from younger generation, from my daughter, from my students, that I'm learning every day. And a tangible example about reverse mentoring, which means, younger generation mentoring a current and older generation, is at Oceanside Perspective, we started our very first ambassador program, which consists of a few groups of Gen Z, students, who is going to teach us how to make social media work. And we haven't been really doing a very good job on social media, especially on the short form content, as you can imagine, for like Instagram and TikTok. But we believe that's a very important way for us to reach out to the younger generation, let them know that we exist as educational resources for them. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm very excited and hopefully to start sharing the content generated by the younger generation in the near future.
I love that. I think there's no better way to learn than being immersed in conversations and experiences with each other as well. I've definitely learned a lot from you as too.
Yeah, thank you. Me too. Vice versa.
And then going a little bit more into your personal story, was there an experience or a book or an interaction that really carried you through that hard time?
Actually, I was very fortunate that one of my friends recommended this book, Build the Life You Want, co-authored by Oprah and Arthur Brooke. And the book talks about the 4 pillars for happiness. So it started with family, and then friends, and then work, and then faith. So easy to remember was 3 F and 1 W. Mm-hmm. So I think the family and the friends are obvious. I think we got so much happiness from it. And then it supported us throughout the most difficult time. And then work, personally, that I got so much joy from work because work is a way for us to make impact. Work is a way for us to contribute our ability to advance the society and also make our contribution valuable. But faith is an area that when I read the book, I thought, oh, okay, what does that really mean? Because it could mean different things for different people. I'm personally not a very religious person, But the book actually talk about this profound idea about faith is just simply something bigger than you. So after my cancer journey and every day searching to see what is something I kind of wanted to invest the rest of my time. Time is always limited. You don't know. And I think, the mission of Oceanside Perspective become more and more profoundly impactful is the right answer for me.
Gotcha.
And I encourage everybody to use that framework because I thought, it's the ultimate goal is how could you live a better life, make the world a better place, and so you are a little happier than yesterday.
That's beautiful. And so the 4 pillars mentioned in Oprah's book, they were friends, family, work, and faith. So how did those pillars shape Oceanside Perspective's mission and the L.I.T.E framework?
Yeah, I love to bring people together. I think that's a great framework because if I can bring my family, which Irene is already here, and if I could bring my friends, which many, I think all the board members on Oceanside Perspective, from Benjamin to Tyler to Nana to Michael, they're good friends. We have worked together in somewhat capacity, stay as a friend for a long time. So friends is already here. Not only that, I think most of the speakers become friends because of some in-depth conversation like this. And I feel like, oh my gosh, the human stories are so deep and impactful, and you can find a lot of commonality and shared value from those stories. So, this whole framework works well from like friends and family. And work, yeah, I mean, I have to be honest that Oceanside Perspective almost become my full-time job in the past 2 years. So I got so much joy from it, but I think that's beauty of bringing the work to connect with family and friends. Lastly, faith is we're building something much bigger than ourselves. Any of us connected together. This Oceanside Perspective mission is a lifetime mission. As long as human being exists, I think we need to work on the human-centered skill and find the resources to support that, especially given this like very technology-driven and AI-amplified world. Katie, what do you think of the L.I.T.E framework?
The L.I.T.E framework.
Does that resonate with you?
Yes. To me, I feel like being so early out in my career, I just graduated college, I don't have too many tangible experiences with entrepreneurship or technology, things like that. But I feel that I have learned a lot from your class, but also just in life about like the entrepreneurial mindset that really speaks to me. I'm personally just naturally a very competitive person, so so I'm excited by challenges. And then also just the mission of Oceanside Perspective, elevating those human skills and human stories and human experiences really resonates with me because I think that's the way that I learn the best is learning from real world examples and specifically moments of challenges or trials and tribulations from real people. Because when I think about my own struggles, it helps me carry on, having other real world examples to fall back on.
Yeah, so, if we really think about it, the most struggle we face is not because I'm not able to pass that class. It's not because I cannot learn that skill to build something. It's really about the struggle and suffering. And sometimes it's misunderstanding, sometimes it's misperception, and sometimes it's just unfair judgment. And sometimes in this world of AI, it could be also misinformation and confusion that build around us. So I think we really wanted to emphasize more on the human skills because that's where get us clear value alignment as well as a good thinking skills and for good judgment. This is where really we bring people together. and not divided by technology.
I love that. I'd love to hear some more stories about your journey towards entrepreneurship and founding Oceanside Perspective. Can you tell me a little bit about the $200 problem in your classroom?
Yeah, when I started teaching several years ago, students for almost every class are required to purchase a textbook plus some learning resources and materials. And that cost could up to $200. And if you are a student at the UC San Diego, I think most students take about 4 to 6 classes a quarter, and times like 3 quarters. So that cost just add up very quickly. And also because we're in a public university, so you get students from all sorts of background, and very high cost of living in California. So many students actually struggling with just basics, food, clothing, housing. I think that tuition requirement is just become a real burden. But not only that, because most of the teaching material that we use is print-based. And it's also, some of them are really like outdated. We can talk about a case study that 10 years old, a textbook that 15 years old. So my question is that even relevant to today's learning? And then, so I start creating the teaching material. I'm a big believer of a real world learning, because whatever you learn in school, especially for students like you, when you were in my class, you're about to graduate, enter into the real world. And I'm a firm believer that we should teach them some real skills and mindset they can take away to the real world and make them successful. So I started creating this real world teaching material, and by myself, as well as partnering with many guest speakers who are the top talent in the industry, from the industry. So we started creating those material in a multimedia form factor, which is, technology has advanced us here. Print is one way, but that should not be the only way. So I have a good news to share that this quarter, throughout the past few years' effort, we have successfully reduced this $200 to $5 per student. And I frame it as a $200 problems. It has so many reasons behind it, but I'm also thinking there's such a great opportunity for Oceanside Perspective and for people like us to solve it.
That's really amazing, especially me as my experience as a student was very recent, and I know that's one thing that not only I struggled with, but also a lot of my peers. There's so many costs that go into just getting your education, and it's not just tuition. There's also the cost of housing, like you mentioned, in California, but also specifically San Diego is like one of the least affordable cities to live in, I think now. Mm-hmm. So there's groceries, rent, tuition, and then when you add gas, correct, yeah, and then when you add on the $200 textbook for one class, that really makes it really difficult to, or that becomes a barrier to education. So I think that's really great.
Yeah, I think the key is also not only reduce the cost, but also producing higher quality learning material and more a rich experience through the multimedia. So not only reduce the cost, but also improve the quality of learning. And then the only way you do that is you produce those material and you'll provide that free access to all the students.
Yes. And so are there any lessons that you took from working for the tech giants like Apple and Google that you brought into these multimedia educational videos?
I think I learned so much from Apple and Google. And one thing is a big picture and systematic thinking. Because to solve the complex problem, you probably need to understand the best way to solve it is to first of all, understand it, not understand it in a particular pain point, but the holistic as a system. How do you understand the problem and navigate the problem, as well as come up with a viable solution? So that's one thing I think really the big corporation helped me, frame that mindset. And I think the second thing is it's all about people. All my stories, leading a team, building team, and also building global supply chain, life oftentimes creates frictions, but the people make the difference. So I think as much as, every day you open the news these days that they're talking about more investment going to AI. And I really feel like we should really think about it, more investment in people, because that's really where make resilience for human being. Whether you're students, whether you're professional, whether you're a senior executive, we need both hard skill and the soft skills to make us successful. Mm-hmm. I oftentimes say that hard skill get you the job, but soft skill take you to the top. It's about a time to focus on human skills, and therefore, we can create a more balanced and coexist a better world.
Diving a little more into your background at Apple and Google, which part of your background from working there gives you an unfair advantage in this sphere?
I think the big corporation is a great training ground. I highly encourage all the young people, if you have an opportunity to join one of them, you should take that opportunity and learn about this big picture view as well as systematic approach, because I think that really resonate with me, that how do you solving a complex problem and also work on sustainable growth. So that's one thing. Secondly is my global perspective and also the different culture element, because I'm a supply chain profession. Supply chain by all means, it's global. And I think that gave me such an opportunity to get an insight from working with different part of the world and working with different people with different background and industry. And so that's the second one. I think people is important. How do you work with people, make a meaningful relationship? And I think the third piece is you have to be a quick learner, because nobody's going to teach you. It's very different from school. It's like you enrolled into a class, and professor and the teaching team do their very best to feed you the information. When you're in the real world, you're on your own. And so how do you self-navigate? How do you acquire resources? How do you learn from the people that you respect and you admire, more experienced? And so I think it's not about a hard skill. It's about a soft skill that differentiate an average talent from a top talent. Mm. So those are the things that I'm trying to implement, become the backbone of Oceanside Perspective.
And in starting Oceanside Perspective, which assumption did the market prove wrong, and how did you pivot from that?
Yeah, pivot is actually, I think, a DNA of entrepreneur. And, throughout that journey, we actually started Oceanside Perspective as an audio-owning content creator. About 4 months into that journey, I interviewed Mark Reber, who is a legendary founder of Boston Dynamics. And he shared with me during that interview and gave me an advice is looking to video, because he believed that's what makes Boston Dynamics really successful and gain the trust and build a community globally, also gain the trust from the investors. I took that into heart because I really respected him. And so that week I did some research, and I think the trend is clearly going to the video, not audio. So we decided to pivot. And so it was started with an audio owning, conversation owning. All of a sudden, we needed to put our face on the camera, which I never feel comfortable, still don't feel comfortable. But we have been doing that in the last year. And I think the result is clear, because when you tell human story, when you know the people behind the story, you gain trust, you make connection, and then the impact is there, and we start growing our community. So I think that's a great pivot. So my advice for entrepreneurs is don't be afraid to pivot when you feel like that's the right thing to do. It's going to help you so much more if you've gone down the wrong path versus you just pivoted to a new direction.
And so that pivot has obviously proven to be successful for Oceanside Perspective.
Yes.
You guys have reached more than 150,000 combined views and impressions and made educational content accessible to hundreds of students. When you look back on that, what are you most proud of?
There are many moments that I'm proud of, but I would have to say a particular moment like this makes me really happy and really proud, because we started with only me as the only host. But one of our mission is intergenerational learning, make that available. So as a matter of fact, that I could sit down with you, a good representation of Gen Z. And so I feel like we have onboarded several younger hosts in the past year. And it started with my daughter, Irene. She started a new series called Purpose Why Medicine, because she's a science graduate. And, she graduated from science major and going for medical school. So she's really passionate about the healthcare industry. So she started with that. New series. And I also know that we are starting this new series called Founders in L.I.T.E. And your passion and your creativity and this conversation just makes me feel like really happy. And then it's a great learning opportunity. We also have Sarai, who is a USC student. She also started interviewing our board members, and fantastic conversation with Abe recently, who is an HR executive, people operation executive at Google. And Sarai wants to become a future HR manager. So that was a great opportunity for him. And then, I know we have the roadmap and a couple more series coming. So again, a moment like this makes me really, really happy.
And I'm happy to be here to be a part of that as well. So I want to move on and talk about some actionable takeaways that you've learned from just your life, your career journey, your entrepreneurial journey. First of all, I'm curious. So I know Oceanside Perspective is built upon wanting to elevate human skills. Mm-hmm. So in your perspective, where must you keep humans in the loop, and why?
Yeah, great question. I think there's a few areas. One is when the trust, judgment, also value is in stake. I think this is where you need human. Because we build trust by knowing each other. And we make judgment because we debate, we think. The critical thinking is so important. Therefore, all the information we process together, and then we make a judgment, form an opinion. Right. And then the last piece is also value. So we always like, to discuss about it, what's important for us, what's a priority for us, and then why we choose one decision versus the other. So I think when trust, judgment, and value is in high stake, I think that's where human is must.
I agree, because I think AI obviously is a very powerful tool, but often it'll take a lot of information and spit out this centralized, generalized answer. But I think when discretion is needed in a certain topic or instance, then humans are very important. Mm-hmm. And so when talking about OP's business model, whether it comes to the funding, revenue, or impact, what was the biggest misconception you faced about nonprofits, and how did you address it?
Yeah, it's very interesting, almost surprising journey for me. And, when people hear nonprofit, they automatically process as no revenue. And actually, nonprofit is just our tax code. It's not our business model. We also need the talent, the resources. We need the funding in order to operate as a sustainable business. So I think that's the biggest misperception that I have experienced starting from almost everybody I've been talking to. So my friend, our community, our supporters, I think we really appreciate your donation, your volunteer. We need all of you to advance our mission. So I will be reaching out to some of my friends that I believe that we share the same value. So yeah, we need a support.
And what risk are you willing to take right now for OP, and why?
I think in a world that every day you wake up, there's news about the AI, different revision, the advancement, and then potentially more people and organizations' role will be replaced. I think the biggest risk I'm willing to take right now is I believe helping build human skills is more important than ever. Although not many people wanted to face that and talk about it. But I think this has come from a long-term thinking that we must be willing to work on that. If you imagine a world that AI or robots can work 24/7, they are smarter, they are faster, they never get tired. Then you're thinking about what's left for people to do. So if we want to spend more time going back to the framework we talk about with our friends, with our family, with our coworkers, right? And then don't we need a better communication, build a trust, and more cohesive, and be able to solve conflicts? So this is where the human skill become must have, and we all needed to practice that for the rest of our life to get better. So that's the risk I'm willing to bet on. I think time is going to tell.
So to conclude our episode, we're going to have Helen read our last question card. This will be for our next guest on our show.
Okay, all right. It shows a heart here. But I did not wear my reading glasses, sorry. Katie, would you mind to read for us?
This is where the intergenerational learning comes in.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Okay, so
in a good way.
Yes. And so the question goes, what kind of character traits are you drawn to in people that, although compelling, can make for difficulties in relationships?
Oh, wow. It's a deep
That's pretty
question.
Deep.
I wonder who is the next guest and how they're going to answer it.
I know.
This is fun. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks so much for joining us today. So thank you so much for tuning into our episode. If you enjoyed our podcast, please like and subscribe. And in this episode, we covered Oceanside Perspective's mission and what the L.I.T.E framework means to Helen and the company. And we also dove into Helen's personal journeys and how Oprah Winfrey's 4 pillars, family, friends, work, and faith, have shaped the way that she viewed her life and this company. So to Helen, faith was something bigger than herself, and that was Oceanside Perspective. Something that was bigger than myself right now is my community. So we're curious to see in the comments, let us know what is something that is bigger than yourself in your own life right now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Katie, for this episode. I enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks so much for coming in today.
Yay. Okay.
The action.
I wanted to laugh because Julia's arm is really sore. I had that problem last time too. Sorry, hold on. Oceanside. Sorry, Julia. Human skills. Come on. Okay.
Yes.
We got this. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I got this.